Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Michelle Graff, and I'm the editor-in-chief at National Jeweler. I'm pleased to welcome you to the latest episode of My Next Question, National Jeweler's webinar series sponsored by RDI Diamonds. Today's session is hosted by our Associate Editor, Lenore Fedow, and features the heads of three of the industry's biggest trade shows: Sarin Bachmann of Reed Jewelry Group, which operates the JCK shows; Gannon Brousseau, Director of Couture and Executive Vice President at Emerald; and American Gem Trade Association CEO Doug Hucker. Before I turn the discussion over to Lenore and her guests, I just wanted to let our attendees know that we will not be doing a Q&A at the end of today's show due to time constraints. Instead, you can direct any questions to the relevant trade show executives via the addresses I'll be shortly dropping into the chat. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available on the National Jeweler website this coming Monday, August 2nd. Now I'll turn it over to Lenore and to get things started. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you guys for joining me today. We are about a month away from the trade shows in Las Vegas, and we have with us today the people that make it all happen. So I wanted to give each of you a chance to quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the show that you're representing. We can start with Sarin.
Hi, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Of course.
Sarin Bachmann, and I am the Group Vice President for Reed Jewelry Group, and the shows that I am representing today are JCK and Luxury in Las Vegas.
And Doug?
Doug Hucker, the CEO at the American Gem Trade Association, and we have the American Gem Trade Association Gem Fair Las Vegas at the Encore at the Wynn property. And it's going to be colored gemstones and colored gemstones and colored gemstones.
Simple enough. And Gannon?
Yeah, Gannon Brousseau. I'm with Emerald, and I'm here representing the Couture show.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to get started. Now, I'm sure it is never an easy feat to organize these shows, but these past 2 years have been especially tricky. What would you say has been the most challenging aspect of setting up the show this year? We can start with Gannon.
Not having a crystal ball. I think that's been fairly challenging. You know, I think as show organizers, we try to be as proactive as possible and try and plan ahead. But I think we've really learned how to be patient as things are so fluid right now and react as they come through. But getting a little into the weeds, the international component, working with our international brand partners, anticipating whether or not they can travel in. But as challenging as that's been, it's also been rewarding because we've really been able to see key people in the industry rise up, rally behind the shows, and help facilitate opportunities for our international partners to participate in the show.
Right, yeah, that's definitely been encouraging to see. Sarin, what would you say is the most complicated part of the planning process?
Well, for this year, it definitely was changing the dates, trying to get dates in Vegas in the size that we would need, and not in the Venetian and Sands was very tricky. As you can tell, Vegas is very popular with trade shows, so that was probably the toughest thing. But we were thrilled that we were able to secure summer dates and make that happen, and that all our other Vegas shows, we were all able to align together and be able to make that happen. So that was probably the trickiest aspect of it, as well as, what Gannon was mentioning and all the pivots and everything that we have to do that goes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to consider. Doug, what was the trickiest part for you setting up the show this year?
If it's not, my daughter just got married.
Oh, congratulations.
In Canada, and we had some long discussions, and I said, we're kind of like wedding planners. We've been doing these shows for a long, long time. We know our vendors, we know the people we work with, we know the venues, we know what we're supposed to do and when we're supposed to do it, and that has all absolutely changed. It's almost like you're learning all over again. So, like Gannon says, yeah, I wish we had a crystal ball, because a lot of the questions we get, well, what's going to happen? Are people going to come? Yeah, they're going to come, but there's always questions and there are challenges. Probably, I would say, in agreeing with Sarin, the venues are always a challenge. We were very fortunate when the dates changed and we lost the convention center. Gannon worked with us with Couture and found us a home in the Encore, so that worked out. But I can't say there's one thing that was the biggest challenge. I think it was all a big challenge this year.
Right. And speaking of your exhibitors, you all have a lot of different exhibitors that you work with. What were some of their biggest concerns and how did you address them? Sarin, you can start.
Sure. On this one, I would say it's definitely was the international exhibitors with the biggest concerns. Of course, their biggest concern was whether or not they'd be allowed to travel. The great thing was they were so eager. They really want to be a part of the event. The shows are so important for everyone right now to be able to get back to business. It was just a question of whether they'd be allowed to travel. And that's really a difficult one because, you know, as we've been saying, without a crystal ball, there was no way to answer that. We did make it flexible for them to say when we got closer to the show, if you aren't allowed to travel, we made that flexible for them to be able to roll to the next year for the internationals who had travel restrictions. And, you know, we're definitely seeing some of that come to play now, unfortunately, for many of them, although there are some who have US representation or are coming from countries where there aren't restrictions. So we are going to definitely have some of them there, but that was probably the trickiest aspect for the exhibitors.
Right. Gannon, would you agree with that? Was that some of the major concerns you were hearing from your?
I would definitely agree with that. I would think, you know, moving the show to August from June out of its normal window was tricky for production. But it was amazing to see, again, back to the industry rallying behind and our customers rallying behind, knowing how important it is for us all to come together and celebrate the industry after not seeing each other for so long. So I think that quickly kind of passed. And then, you know, for Couture, we're normally a 5-day show and we moved to 3 days. So we've done everything we can to kind of cheat and extend the show hours. We've added a preview night on Monday to help people get a jump start on the week. But those two things, but it's been really remarkable to see everybody kind of, again, prioritizing coming together over these other details.
Right. And in addition to your exhibitors, I'm sure your attendees have had a lot of questions for you as well. What are your attendees asking you about most often? We can start with Doug.
I think the biggest question is they want to know, are you doing the show? Are you doing the show? As much as you communicate and send out information and things, you know, there's sometimes you're just not getting through to everyone. But from the buyers and the exhibitors both, everybody is so anxious to have a show. And it can be mundane about, you know, we have inventories that need replenishment. We have people that just need the business, but it goes beyond that. It goes, people are wanting things to get back to normal. And one of the big normals and the big enjoyable things for our buyers are coming to these shows. This is what their life is about, and seeing all the new products and all the new gemstones and seeing their people again. It is, that's what I hear from people, you know, are you going to do the show? Yes, God, please do the show. We want the show so badly. So what we've done is we know that we'll be there and we're going to open the doors, and barring any unforeseen circumstances, there are people going to be coming and they're going to have smiles on their faces and they're going to be in earnest.
So you seem really hopeful and optimistic about the shows this year. In terms of attendance, has it been in line with your expectations, everything considered?
You don't know what the attendance is until the show's over with. But you know, we don't do a lot of pre-registration. Okay, with our show, we register people that have come in the past, and we reach out to people. And I would say that certainly we're not getting the registrations that we have in the past, but I'm very pleased with the results that we've gotten. We have, because of all the considerations that Gannon and Sarin have mentioned, it's going to be a smaller show for us this year. And we, you know, if we have a few thousand people that show up to a smaller show with the number of exhibitors we have, everyone's going to enjoy that experience. I can say that we're definitely not getting the registrations that we have in the past, but we're not living in the past. We're living with a new normal. But I always take a look and say that there are certain things that indicate to me that people are coming. And when you're having pressure on hotel rooms and you're having pressure on things where people need to have in order to come to the show, that's a good sign. Right. I haven't had anyone, not anyone, I wouldn't say no one, but very few people tell me they're just not coming to Las Vegas. It's too important for them. Okay?
Right.
It means a lot.
And, I'll add to that, and just to kind of, touch on, or just add rather, I've been with Couture for 10 years and never have we sent a press release announcing our attendance numbers and how they were better than the year before, because it just hasn't been our focus. Our focus has been on the quality of attendee. So when we look at the quality and the curation of the people that are coming, these are people that are very serious about the industry. So from that perspective, we're definitely very pleased with what we're seeing. The buyers that we want to be there are coming. And they're coming and they're serious. They're not coming to just look around. They're coming to do business because, as we all know, knock on wood, our industry's had a fantastic year. Is that a cat behind you, by the way?
That is a cat.
It's not a ghost. It is a cat.
Nope, for me.
Yeah, people have had a fantastic year, and they need, as Doug was saying earlier, they need inventory for their stores for holiday. And this is where they're going to come to get that.
And same question to you, Sarin. Has attendance been in line with your expectations, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, I would say actually, I was pleasantly surprised. Our pre-registration, although down a bit from 2019, not down as much as I would have expected from 2019, given small, what everything that's going on. So ours is still tracking very strong, and it's been consistent over the past month or two at the same levels. So I actually was very pleasantly surprised, on that registration. And as everyone was saying, there's a lot of pent up demand there. The other thing that we're seeing from other shows we run, we ran JIS back in March, is that you also see a lot of last minute registration. So the nice thing is to be an attendee, you can make that last minute decision. So we've seen that on all different industries, all different shows that have been happening throughout the year. So that's something as well that can be a last minute indication, although it's tracking strong now. I'm very pleased with the numbers as they are.
Right. Well, that's good. That's encouraging to hear. Now, all of the planning, all of the hard work aside, this is a really fun industry to be in. What is your favorite part of setting up the show? We can start with Sarin.
So it's hard to pick just one. I'd say if you're talking about on-site favorite, I love seeing the venue go from nothing to this built up, beautiful trade show. Right. I actually was just talking with my team about, we are going to do a time lapse this year, videotaping the JCK show floor being created so that I can share that with everyone. But it's just an amazing thing to see. And then pre-show, I just love this industry. I love networking. I love talking to customers. I love being out at events, being, even with my peers on this panel. I just love getting together, and it's such a great industry that we all care so much about, and I love being a part of it.
Same question to you, Doug. What is your favorite part of setting up the show?
Well, getting off the airplane in Las Vegas and going to the site, and as Sarin says, seeing all the things that go into it. It's kind of like opening night at a play. Okay, you see the stage coming together. You see people that you've seen before. The vendors are setting their stuff up. Everybody's got a buzz about them. They're excited about what's taking place. You can just feel the energy is just really cool. I don't know what you never know what's going to happen, but you just see that people they're just there. This is what they do. This is their life. And this is the money time. This is when they're getting ready for opening night. What kind of impression are they going to make on the audience? And so I got to say that pulling down Las Vegas Boulevard and pulling up to the site and getting out of the car and walking inside and seeing everything. And, because you look at these empty ballrooms when you're doing site selection and things like that, but it just doesn't look anything like it does when they get this thing put together. So that anticipation of the doors opening up on the first day is probably my favorite time.
Would you agree, Gannon?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I always like also putting myself in the mindset of the attendee and thinking about their journey from the minute they walk through the doors of the Wynn, when they smell Asian rain, which is the scent that's pumping through to registration at the hotel, their entire journey and experience at the show, and everything that we're trying to provide them to make that experience enjoyable so that they can do business in the most frictionless way possible. And then our job on show site is to do whatever we possibly can to make sure that they have a great experience. So to Sarin's point, it's hard to identify just one thing, but what Doug said, the minute you get off your flight in Vegas, it's game time. It's fun. It's really fun.
Absolutely. And there are so many things for you guys to consider, I know, when you're putting these shows together. But what were your top priorities for this year's show? Whoever wants to jump in first.
I mean, for me, it's very simple. It's letting the industry get back to business in a healthy and safe way, and letting people conduct business. And there's so much pent up demand. So that is the number one priority.
And Doug?
No, I mean, putting together a show and producing the shows is a complex thing. There's a lot of moving parts, but our priorities are getting buyers there. Okay. If we do that, and if we can get the people excited about the show, then our exhibitors are going to do well. Our exhibitors are wonderful people. They've been doing business with a lot of these clients for years and years and years. And we know that when we bring the people to the show, that they're going to do well. And so what we do is we try to focus on getting as many people there as we can, because you got to put the people together. And if you put the people together, you have buyers and you have exhibitors, then it's out of your hands. It's all up to your exhibitors and your friends, and hoping that the jewelers are going to do their job. And I will tell you, I have to agree with Gannon. The things I'm hearing from jewelers out there, they're having a very good year. Their expectations have been exceeded. Depending upon what your glass is, half full or half empty. If we beat our expectations, my expectations are very, very high. So if we can meet those and beat those, we're all going to walk away from Las Vegas tired and with a smile on our faces.
Well, that's good. That's encouraging to hear. So I imagine for a lot of the attendees to the shows, one of their main concerns is going to be health and safety. So I'm going to ask each of you to tell me a little bit about the safety guidelines that you have in place at the shows. As of this moment, of course, everything is subject to change. But if you could talk to me about the mask policy, the distancing, all the health and safety questions I'm sure everyone's been asking you. Sarin, you can start.
Yeah, so, as you said, it's a tricky one because it's as of the moment. So we are going to be following all the health and safety guidelines that are in place with the local government and with the Venetian and Sands at the time of the show. And right. It's an ever evolving, ever changing landscape. So, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be because it could change between now and then. If the show were tomorrow, it would be the current guidelines, which are that masks are required. However, that is something that is based, if you read all the details on that, it's based on different things that can change between now and the show. The one example is for anyone who attended Centurion. Going into Centurion, the guideline was masks required. And then the moment they got there, there was an announcement that that was no longer required. And, everyone didn't have to wear their masks if they didn't want to. So these things can change up until the show, and we're constantly monitoring it. We have a place on our website where we keep the health and safety guidelines updated. So anyone who wants detailed information can check there. And as we change them, that's where it will be updated.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I was just going to add and say, I know your question was to ask each of us individually what our plans were. And as much as I'd like to say we each have an individual plan, you're going to see that we're very unified in how we're addressing these issues. We're connected. We're working with each other to make sure that everybody has a very safe experience at the show. To Sarin's point, with Reed and with Emerald, we've all held events during the time of COVID. Last fall, earlier in the winter, pre-vaccine, and they were all very successful, safe events. So we are very bullish on Las Vegas, and we know that we'll deliver the same.
And Doug, do you have anything to add?
I think that one thing that we've expressed a lot to our buyers and that they understand is that, you have a concept of going to these mass things. This is not a Super Bowl event. It's not walking down the strip in Las Vegas. You're in very elegant settings with a select group of people that have been dealing with these issues all year long in their own businesses. They know about the steps they need to take, and they know they're not the kind of people that are going to you're going to follow the same kinds of things that we've been doing all year long, making sure you wash your hands, being careful about social distancing, wearing a mask. I would hope that everyone that comes could get vaccinated before they come, which would be a boon. But we also understand that there will be people that, as long as they follow those rules that we don't set, we try to do everything we possibly can, consistent with what the county and the city and the facilities put in place. But I think you're going to see the same thing at all of our shows.
Right.
We'll have cooler, real colorful masks than those guys, but
Well, that's always fun. And to the point most of you were making, the guidance is changing all of the time on the local level, the federal level, all the different, CDC updates. What sources are you looking at when you're making the health and safety decisions for the show? Sarin, you can start.
I would say first and foremost, we work with our partners at the Venetians and Sands. We work very closely together and we follow their requirements and guidelines. We're also following the local, state and city and county guidelines as well. We're listening to the input from the CDC. And we also have a consultant that we work with, Dr. Erwin Redliner. And I'm going to read his pedigree because I don't have that memorized, but he's the founding director of the National Center for Disaster Preparedness. He's a senior research scholar at Columbia University. He's a professor of pediatrics at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and he's a public health analyst for NBC and MSNBC. And we talk to him weekly, and we run past him the protocols we're thinking about, what all of the guidance we're hearing, and he helps us in consultation with us in making the right decisions. And then, as Gannon said, we're also in contact with our trade show partners on this call, and our organizations are working together in the trade show industry in making the best decisions to keep everyone healthy and safe.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely the time to call in the experts and keep in touch with the other show organizers. So this is going to be my last COVID related question, and then we can move on to something a little more fun. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from having to plan these trade shows during COVID? Doug, you can start.
Geez. I don't know it's a lesson that I've learned, but I have to say that I am overwhelmed by the job that my team has done. Okay. The way they've pitched in, we're down in staff. I'm sure many people had to work with smaller staff and in difficult times. And the job that the staff has done in trying to make the experience exactly the same as it was for our exhibitors and buyers before COVID, and trying to do the same thing and provide them the same experience. And I just have to say they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's been definitely inspiring to see all of the industry people coming together, especially at such a difficult time. Gannon, same question to you.
Yeah, Doug, you said it brilliantly. I work with a very passionate team that cares tremendously about the shows that they're on. And, our goal is to provide opportunities for our customers to do business and help grow their business. So we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we provide that opportunity to this industry. All of us on this call right now serve a very important purpose, and we take it very seriously. We're honored to be sitting in these chairs to deliver these events for this industry. But for me personally, about my team for sure, but the importance of human connection. You know, this industry is very much built on relationships, handshakes. There's certain touch points throughout the year. The year always starts in Tucson, and then you got Miami, and then you got New York. There's these things that we've kind of taken for granted and we haven't had. And I think it really fuels, and it's the backbone of this industry, is the human connection. So not having that for such a long time it's been really difficult for me personally. I mean, the countless lunches and drinks and dinners and showroom visits, I miss those things. It's been nice being in New York and getting back into the city, getting back in the office for, 4 or 5 months. But I'm greatly looking forward to all of us coming together in Vegas. I think it's going to be a collective sigh. Once we're all there and we see each other, it's going to be like, oh yeah, it's the muscle memory kicks in. And then you realize just again, how truly special and unique this industry is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a very close-knit jewelry community, and it's been very strange not seeing people for as long as it's been. So I want to move on to a bit of a lighter topic, something a little more fun. I want to ask, and I can start with Sarin, what's new at the show this year?
Oh, well, that's a great topic. A lot of new things. So, we're going to have a lot of the things that everybody loves and expects at the show, including some of the events like the Jewelers for Children Gala and the Levian Fashion Show and the Rappaport Breakfast. But then we also have new things. We have new areas. We have luxury located up on the 5th and 4th floor in ballrooms. We also have our Gems Pavilion located in the 3rd floor in ballrooms. We have a new design collective area where we've brought all of the designers across the JCK and Luxury shows, many of them into one area. We have a few still in luxury, and then we have a big area when you first walk into JCK with this awesome design collective pavilion. One of the things that we hear a lot that retailers are looking for are the new designers, and they're going to be sitting alongside the tried and true designers in this area. So we're excited about that. We also have new educational programs. We're doing some things differently. One of the things that's great is we've all learned we can try new things with digital and other ways. So our education is going to be happening throughout the show, but we're also going to be streaming it. So you can go into a conference room to watch the education, but if you want, you can see it streamed in pods throughout the show floor. Things like our keynotes will also be streamed to the hotel rooms. If someone wants to just have their coffee in the morning and watch the keynote from their room before they get down to business on the show floor. So we'll be trying out new and different things like that as well. So many things, I'm not going to list them all, but that's just a few on the top of my mind.
Yeah, well, that sounds really exciting. Doug, what's new at your show this year?
I with our show, it's what is really new and exciting every single year is new finds, new product. There's no denying that the supply chain has been incredibly disrupted in the past year and a half, but people are finding ways to get around that. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people. You can't go to Brazil right now, but the Brazilian dealers are working. They're shipping things out. People are taking materials in. You've got most people don't necessarily tip their hand until they get to the show. But I would say if there's going to be something new, you're going to see fine gemstones and the same people in our show. We're not doing our seminars like we typically do and a lot of the production. We're going to be having little rooms where we can watch the stuff's going on at JCK when it's streaming. But new product. People are looking for the standbys, and they're looking for anything new and exciting that's come out during the year.
And Gannon, what's new at Couture this year?
Well, we're in a new hall.
Right.
We're, the Wynn expanded, and they built a beautiful new extended space. So we are, it's an oasis. It really is a beautiful space. So for people that are used to Couture, we used to have the show within 2 ballrooms. So essentially what we did is pick up the 2 ballrooms and put them into one space. And that also allowed us to move Couture Time, which used to be at the Encore, over to the Wynn. So everybody is under one roof, with the villas still being where they were. That's the biggest thing that changed. Now we're overlooking the golf course. We have a beautiful outdoor space, which is, I'm really excited for everybody to see it. So rather than looking at the European pool, now we're looking at a golf course. We've also spent a lot of time activating the show floor in meaningful ways, creating unique places for people to connect. I don't want to give too much away on this call, but it's something that we're really excited about. And everything Sarin's doing sounds exciting. Can I come to JCK?
You're more than welcome.
Right.
So we're going to move on to my very last question. What are your predictions for next year's show? Again, and you can start when you're ready. Sorry, I didn't see you drinking there.
Well, let me go get my crystal ball real quick.
Okay, I'll wait.
I generally don't like making predictions.
Okay.
I really like to live in the moment. I think we've all learned not to make predictions. Who would have thought, right? I predict that the industry is going to have a great time in Vegas this year. And I will leave 2022 till 2022.
Okay, fair enough. Sarin, how are you feeling?
I mean, I think that was well said by Gannon. It's hard, it's hard to make predictions so far out. I do think we're going to have an amazing show this year. And I think, equally strong in 22 than, the internationals that can't come this year will be able to come back. So, I think I'm looking forward to 2 great years.
Got it. And Doug, do you have any predictions, or are you going to stay away from that?
Well, look, it's like Gannon says, reading the crystal ball and making predictions. We always try to improve the shows. We try to improve the experience for people. We bring new vendors in, but you're really not recreating a wheel here. You're continuing to you've got a professional team that puts together a show. You've got good exhibitors and good buyers. I'm just hoping that come 2022, Tucson Gem Fair is going to be the bellwether that tells everybody we're back in business, and it's just going to build and build and build throughout the rest of the year. Obviously, the Jewelry Week in Las Vegas is important to the huge global community, and everybody wants it to succeed. And the one thing that I think we have cooperative shows that work together, and we don't have some of the issues that the international shows have run into with not only the problem with COVID, but problem with business and things like that. We're moving forward. It's going to be wonderful. How wonderful? I'm going to leave that up to Gannon and his projection machine, his crystal ball.
Thank you.
My crystal ball is saying that it's going to be a very, very strong holiday season for all of our retailers. So that crystal ball would say that, this show is going to be really strong because they need to stock up after all of this time. And then that would make for also a strong year after. So, in my crystal ball, that's what I see, but.
God's ear, Sharon.
Yeah, if there's one thing I will comment on about 22 and beyond, and I think this is a great representation of it on this webinar, and thank you again for having us.
Yeah, of course.
We've never admittedly come together as organizers, collaborating on how we can do business in Las Vegas. And I think this has taught all of us, specifically in our industry and producing live events, how important it is to work together for the collective good of our industry. So I think you're going to see more globally, more collaboration among show organizers. But it's been nice working with both Doug and Sarin during this time and having conversations that we've never had before. So I predict that continues going forward.
Yeah, well, I think, again, it's been really nice during this difficult time to just see how everyone in the industry has come together and just done their best to make things work, everything considered. All right, so that is it for my questions. I really appreciate you all being here. And now I'm going to turn it over to Michelle so she can close it out.
Oh, thank you so much, Lenore. I know we're not doing a Q&A, but we did have one question come on in the chat, and this is for any of you. Will there be any crystal ball exhibitors at the show? Because it kind of seems like there's demand for that. maybe that's something to look at, Doug, for AGTA if it happens in February in Tucson.
I think that could be.
It seems like everybody wants a prediction machine, but I know what, I mean, all kidding aside, I know what everyone's saying. It's absolutely impossible to predict what it's even going to be like a month from now, much less eight months from now or a year from now. So, and I just want to reiterate what Lenore said. Thank you so much, Sarin, Gannon, and Doug. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we know the show's a month out. This is crunch time, and we do appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Before we wrap things up for today, I just wanted to say a quick word about RDI Diamonds. RDI Diamonds, the selection you want, the quality you need. Thousands of diamonds? That's just the beginning. RDI offers a wide range of services and support to help you succeed, from flexible memo options, a partnership with De Beers Group Industry Services, to generous stock options and cost-efficient shipping. RDI's goal is to provide the highest quality of both care and diamonds to your store. Visit rdidiamonds.com today to learn more. That is rdidiamonds.com. My next question will return again next Thursday, August 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern. That will feature our senior editor, Bracken Brandstreiter, talking with Wilkerson Group executive Josh Hayes and retired jeweler Jim Adair. They'll be talking about the ins and outs of going out of business and retirement sales. I just dropped the link into the chat if you want to check that out and register. And also, I just put in all the contact information for all the shows if anyone has any questions. Thanks again to our guest and to Lenore for hosting. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week.